Dear brothers, it's about quality, not quantity.
So guys, it should be your conversation, the way you flow, your presence is enough for a woman to want to be around you, not how much money you spend.
Dear sisters, it's about knowing your value.
My sisters out there, don't be afraid to scare a guy off just because you have standards.
Dear brothers, dear sisters, it's time to come together.
Hey, what up, my people? Welcome to another edition of DBDS Live. I am your host, Mel Money, and I'm here with my brother, my partner, Carl. Man, what's going on, man? What's going on?
Oh man, feeling better than I was last week when we did this show. Got my voice all the way back, man. Just having a great time. Not feeling this cold weather in North Carolina though. It's been cool this week. It's been in the 50s and heavy wind. Yeah, it's I'm like, but next week's gonna be 70 something. So that's what we do down here. It'll go back and forth, and I just pray nobody else gets sick.
Oh, absolutely. You see, that temperature goes up and down, man, up and down, man. So before we get started, I'd like to give a shout out to everybody on the check-in. Yvette just came in, Carmen, Estelle. Shout out to my boy Minty. We're about to go into one of your posts, my brother. Shout out to my sister Liz. So I'm glad you're feeling good, my brother. That's amazing. First, I'd like to give a special shout out to the DBDS family, because I feel like, Carl, man, they made it very comfortable for those posts to come into the group and to help people in certain situationships in their relationships, not only within the group, but also on our website, dearbrothersdearsisters.com, which is also the official site dedicated to healthy and monogamous relationships. So we do have a relationship forum. They came in there to assist us. And I'm telling you, man, it's just been nothing but good experience from these people, because they do not judge you. They'll give you advice based on their experience without making you feel less than a person, regardless if you're in a relationship with someone who's not faithful or what steps to take to make yourself more attractive. I have to say, out of all the groups on Facebook, DBDS is a very mature group out of a lot of them out there. What is your take on that, brother?
I definitely agree about that, and I'm not saying that just to be biased. It really is. I mean, I'm in several different groups, and it's a lot of immaturity and a lot of different things. I mean, you're gonna have back and forth in a lot of places. Every place you go, you're gonna have some people who are toxic, simply because they just feel like they got to be toxic. They haven't healed. It's different things that we deal with in the group. But definitely from having mature conversations with an end goal. I don't think a lot of groups out there have real end goals. Yes. We have an end goal of building healthy relationships that lead to healthy marriages. And I know some people don't want to get married, and that's their preference. But we also understand the fact of how marriage and how it affects the community, and especially in our culture. And that's the goal. That's the end game goal for us. And I think that's what we have to have, these mature conversations. So the battle of the sexes stops. Somebody puts a white flag up and stops it. And like I said, some of these other groups that, I have to leave them sometimes there because of the toxicness in it and just the constant finger pointing.
Yeah. And it gets so tiresome and played out, by the way, on that. And shout out to Liz. She just came into the check-in. How you doing, Liz? And special shout out to More Crystal, my man Ronald, Stacy, Marquita. Thanks for tuning in. Yeah, you're absolutely right, Carl. And that's why, man, very soon we're going to do a DBDS meet and greet. So whatever town you're in, we want to come to that town. We want to have these mature conversations, have a panel set up, have some guest speakers up there, maybe do a speed dating segment. But it's time to come together. At the end of the day, it's time to come together. So listen, we have two amazing guests today. But with that being said, today's show is titled, "Is Being Too Nice Attractive or Not Attractive?" I mean, Carl, this is something that needs to be discussed. So what are your thoughts on this topic?
I'm gonna save my thunder for the show, but it's definitely gonna be it's definitely a good topic that needs to be discussed, and because there are people who get frustrated, and I think they need to understand, because there's a level of niceness that you need to have, but I also feel like you can be over nice.
I agree.
Some people might not agree with that, but I believe you can be over nice, and that'll cause more problems in there. But yeah, I'm looking forward to the show.
Absolutely.
And so was Apollo, who just jumped up.
Yeah, Apollo want to be on the show, man. You know, special shout out to Minty. Minty, if you're watching this episode, you actually gave us the idea to have the show. So special shout out to my brother Minty. So listen, it's time. It is time to bring these amazing guests into the studio, man. So the first one coming into the DBDS live studio. Listen, I had the pleasure to be on her show. She is such an amazing individual, very nurturing, very kind, polite, everything that a queen has. She has these traits. I am talking about my sister Jenni. Welcome to the DBDS live studio.
Hi, thank you for having me. And thank you for everyone that's listening. Hopefully they get some good nuggets this evening. So
they're gonna get some nuggets.
Yeah.
So tell the people a little bit about yourself, where you're from, and why you're on the show today.
Well, I'm on the show obviously because you asked me to come on and you wanted my perspective and my experience. So hopefully, some people take some heed to what I have to say. And like I said, I'm just coming from my experience and perspective and my opinion as well. So obviously, Charmel was on our podcast. We're called Uncommon Women. I am the co-host to it. So we're about women empowerment. We're about edifying women and making a woman understand how powerful she is. And it's been a journey in doing that. And I love it. I love speaking life into women and just teaching about self-love. So I am from northeastern Pennsylvania. We're about an hour from Philadelphia. I am a mother of 2 young adult children, single as well, and I also love Jesus. So I'm definitely going to put that up. That's important to me.
Amen. Well, welcome into the DBDS live studio, and please make sure you check out her show, Uncommon Women. Such an amazing podcast. It was an honor for me to be on the show, and I appreciate you coming onto DBDS live.
I'm honored, actually. Thank you so much.
Welcome. Absolutely. Now, next coming into the DBDS live studio, I also reached out to this sister. I was stalking her, because listen, she has plenty of knowledge, positive gems to share with our brothers and sisters, and I'm excited to have her on for the first time. Welcome, my sister, Coach Michelle. Welcome to DBDS live.
Thank you. Welcome to each and everyone. And thank you so much for having me. And thank you. And I honor and respect each and everyone that's on the panel tonight. So thank you so much for having me.
Likewise, my sister. Absolutely. Likewise. Welcome. So tell the people a little bit about yourself, where you're from, and why you're on the show today.
Okay. Well, I am from Brooklyn, New York, born and raised by way of Birmingham, Alabama. So I'm the country sound in Brooklynite y'all gonna hear. So if you hear y'all totes, stoop, all that stuff, you're gonna hear a little of that country in there. Don't get alarmed. I still got the Brooklynite in me, but that country just kind of makes the blend a little bit better for me. So I'm grateful for that blend as well. I am the president and the founder of Universal Empowerment Impacting Lives, LLC. And I believe being here tonight for me is alignment and purpose. Nothing happens by accident. The universe always brings things together.
Wow.
And so I know, not without a shadow of doubt, that I was meant to be here. So however the universe aligned that to be, I honor and respect you for listening and obeying the voice and intuition inside to have me here tonight. And so I am honored and grateful. So thank you.
The honor is ours. Look, already dropping gems already. The show hasn't started. Thank you so much, my sister, for coming on board. So, listen, shout out to George, Cecil, Alicia, and my wife April on the check-in. So appreciate you guys coming in. Tamika as well. So, today's show, listen, I believe this is a great topic to discuss because first off, let me clear this up. There is nothing wrong with being nice. But what made us come up with this topic today was my brother Minty, as I mentioned at the top of the show. And the post that he did was, ladies, what does this statement mean? He is a good guy, but not the guy for me. Fellas, pay attention. And when he made that post, I thought it would be a good idea to incorporate our sisters into the mix because some brothers overlook nice feminine women with great characteristics for those who are ratchet or overexpose themselves. And sometimes the sisters overlook good brothers out there, So we're here to just discuss these topics, and this is why we're gonna jump into the first one. So the first subtopic that we're going to touch on is being too nice, attractive, or not attractive is afraid to speak your mind. All right. So let me size this up before I get some nuggets from the panelists. So from my perspective, I don't think it's attractive to be a yes man or a yes woman. And I believe in today's instant gratification society, people tend to pander to a lot of reactive moments or the validation they receive because, they want the attention or they want a certain person to like them. But the problem is when you're a yes man or a yes woman, you really don't have an identity and you don't have a set of morals and values and beliefs. So therefore, it's not challenging. And if you continue to be over nice in this degree, the relationship will become stale. All right. So first, I'm coming to my sister, Jenni. What are your thoughts on this particular topic?
Like I said, it could be, I think it can go more than ways than one. It could be, you can be overly nice, but there's always like an intention behind it. And I say this from experience for the simple fact that a guy can be really, really nice and then have some bad intentions behind it, or they can just be nice and really don't have a backbone. So I just think that, or just, there's just a person could just be nice and overall nice and people just step all over them. It's just part of their nature. So, and I've seen that a lot where, people just take advantage of this person because this person's too nice and they don't know how to not say no. And that's where you came in with the yes man. So that can also be it.
Okay. Very well. Man, facts. I love what you stated because that yes man, that yes movement, sometimes you gotta have the courage to say no when it's okay to say no. You have to speak your mind, because I think that's the best way to learn off of a person. When you even if you have disagreements, you have to be, courageous to like really be authentic and say what you feel. But at the same time, it's how you say it and what you say. So that's also important as well. Coming to my sister, Coach Michelle, what are your thoughts on this particular topic?
Well, as I was listening at the yes man comment and honing in on what Jenni was speaking about, being overly nice, right? What really popped in my mind was posture, right? What is our posture? For me, I'm gonna go within myself and just share. I was one of those persons that was too nice, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's tell on ourselves. Where did it come from? My being too nice came from, and I think we spoke about the background, the history. Where did you see that from? Who did you observe growing up about relationship? How was that? For me, I was broken and didn't know it. Okay, so growing up, I had a pattern of brokenness over and over. What too nice, was afraid to really speak until I figured out. I asked the question why, because people don't ask questions of patterns of things that happen generationally within their families to help them identify how to get help, how to ask for help, right? And so once I dealt with my brokenness, I was able to deal with not being able, with being able to not be afraid to speak up, right?
Right.
And so until I dealt with that brokenness, wasn't nothing happening. My posture was not at a great place. So I believe that we have to deal with the totality of the brokenness that caused us to not be able to speak in the first place.
Yeah, here we go. Shots fired. Very well said. I mean, it all, the brokenness and everything like that, that can have a full effect on you. And again, as we mentioned earlier, being nice is not a bad thing, but sometimes when you allow people to treat you in a certain manner or treat you like a second-class citizen, it can become a problem. I know some women who complain that, listen, chivalry no longer exists. So when you come across a man who's simple and who is nice or knows how to flirt, sometimes the self-sabotaging aspect can happen, and for men as well. And this is where a balance has to be made. So don't be afraid to speak up. Don't be afraid. Before I come to your call, have a quick comment right quick. One of our followers says,
from Flo, she said, "Too nice, me too."
Okay, yeah, I was like that too. Or we got a shout out Philly in the house. Okay.
From Cecil, he said, "Yay, Philly."
Oh. Okay. Yay, Philly. So, Carl, I mean, from a man's perspective, afraid to speak your mind. Do you think that could be problematic in a relationship? For that. Thanks.
Absolutely. The biggest issue you run into is when you're afraid to speak a lot. And let's just back up. Some folk are afraid to speak their mind because they're afraid to lose that person. So they feel like they're so nice and overly nice that it's like the moment they say something that's I won't necessarily say out of character, but in correction or bringing correction, they're now crucified because they've always agreed to everything. So now you really put yourself in a bind from how you laid your foundation, that you can't ever say anything wrong about them, or you can't ever correct them because you've always agreed to everything. I think when you're afraid to speak your mind, you're just like, well, she's not going to like me if I tell her that dress doesn't look good on her. She's not going to like me if I tell him, I don't like the way the cologne that he's wearing or something. Whatever the case may be, it can be something simple, but along those lines, it begins to grow into something more. It can be something small that they're afraid to speak of. So now, how do you handle something major when you're disrespected? You're afraid to speak your mind. So now you're just in a relationship with somebody, and nobody wants to deal with that, because if you're not speaking your mind and you're not challenging your partner, you're not growing. The relationship can't grow. It's stagnant.
That's right.
You're completely stagnant across the board because you're not challenging each other. Relationships is supposed to healthy challenge each other in growing. That's how people say relationships supposed to grow. Well, it's not going to grow if you're not challenging each other. If you're both yes, you're basically going opposite directions from each other because you're both yesing each other. You don't realize you're destroying your relationship. And so, being afraid to speak your mind is it's unattractive and it's dangerous.
Yes.
So, because like I said, the first time that you open your mouth and go against the grain, you're the enemy. And this person's looking at you and it's like, wow, well, you've given me this and you said this. Now all of a sudden you feel like this. What's wrong with you? Why did you change? You did change because you were yesing. Now you're
not yesing.
Man. Whoo. Okay.
Yeah.
My man be spitting those fires.
Yeah, he
Listen,
sure is.
that is so true, man. I mean, a lot of times, man, it could be a disservice to yourself when you agree with everything. Didn't they come out with a movie called Yes Man with Jim Carrey?
I think so.
Yeah, the other was just Yes Man.
But I remember the name. Yeah.
Okay, remember that? Yeah, they made a movie. So I think you're right, Carl. That's the best way to grow when you challenge someone. How will you have an identity if you're always agreeing with what everybody else is doing? Shout out to Santavia, George, Teresa, Angie on the check-in, as well as Toya and Tanisha. Thank you guys for tuning in. So besides that, I'm going to have a question to follow up right quick. So my thing is that why is it that some people say they want someone who's nice and they're compatible with them, but yet emotionally they're still not interested when someone who's nice comes along? I mean, do you think that being too nice may lower the chemistry between the two? I'll come back to you, Carl. What do you think that could be?
If you're facing it off of chemistry, we talked about before, chemistry, when you think about chemistry, you think about class, and you're putting together, mixing chemicals together. So the chemistry changes when you add other chemicals to the focal point. So as a relationship changes, the chemistry changes. So that's what I tell people: throw chemistry out the window. You don't need chemistry. You need compatibility. Compatibility is what you're looking for in a relationship, not chemistry. Chemistry also can fall into lust, because it's a chemical imbalance. when you're lusting.
Okay.
You need to throw that out the window and be compatible with this person. So like I said, I may read fiction, she may read love novels, but we both read. So there's compatibility that we do that. She may like basketball, I like football, but there's compatibility that we like sports. You know, she might like crab legs, I like lobster. We like seafood. So that those compatibilities don't change. So it allows you to continue to communicate and do things so you're not being too nice in that situation. But when you're dealing with chemistry, you'll be extra nice to try to keep that going because you're trying to achieve something. You're trying to find that right mixture. You know, like the evil scientist, you know, you're pouring stuff in and you got steam and smoke and everything. You're trying to find something to make it work so that you can get. And again, I tell people like this, when you're doing that, you're trying to get a goal that's one-sided. Compatibility is a two-sided goal, where chemistry is a one-sided goal. And so I think a lot of people miss out on that. So, you know, just like I said, when you fall on that niceness with that, you're messing yourself up while you're just saying, okay, I'm gonna agree with this, I'm gonna agree with that, because now you're chemically imbalanced by being nice, being something that you're not, because you're adding something to your body that's not supposed to be there by just agreeing on everything.
Okay, brother. So before I come to my sister, Coach Michelle, that is so true, man. I mean, that I feel like you got to have that balance. But as you stated, that whole compatibility factor is the most important thing. Some people allow the lust and the love to override the logic in many cases. And I always state that usually it's 4 levels of love. You know, you have your self-love, you have your love, you have your like, and you have your lust. And lust is the lowest form of love because that part can ruin you. You know, I mean, lust and love is good when you're in a marriage because you're lusting, you're loving your wife or your husband. But, you know, on the other side of things, if you're with someone that don't have good integrity or have a low character point of view, that lust can completely destroy you. Same question to my sister, Coach Michelle. Why is it that some people say, hey, I want someone who's nice, but yet they're not really interested in them? And they, well,
I want to just use a scenario, and this is true story, right? My ex, we were married for 15 years, right? He was in and out of prison, right? So coming into that perspective of it and looking at it, if they're too nice and you're looking at certain things, I'm saying that to get to the individual. I had to find me, right? So if you don't find who you are, you're going to keep being with the wrong individual. And I believe it says, how can 2 walk together unless they be in agreement? What agreement are we in? What are we finding spiritually? Okay. So number 1, what had to happen is I came up with a group, not knowing that the group was for me, From Institution to Life Incorporated. So I had to be uninstitutionalized out of some things that were taught growing up, that this was okay. Number 2, religion in that aspect almost killed me, but a relationship, a ship that meant I wasn't by myself, is what saved my life. So a relationship with Abba Father is what saved me, not the religion. The religion was teaching me a certain aspect that kept me into it. That was about to kill me. But the relationship is what saved my life because it went internal, right? It was an inner job. I had to do my work. Once I did my work, I woke up. I said, oh my God, this is not, something ain't right. So I started looking at me, and then I was able to heal from that. And now I attract healness because that's what I'm radiating. I attract wholeness because that's what I radiate. So unless you radiating where I am, then we're not going to be compatible and aligned because we're both not in that spec together. How can 2 walk together except for their agreement? So when I woke up, I said, this situation been going on for a long time. So I had to get out of that because I was now awake.
Woo. That was deep and very thoughtful. Thank you for that answer, my sister. Man, healness and you start attracting, you know, man. Yeah. Wow. Same question to you, Jenni. I mean, so many people say like, hey, I want someone that's nice. And it may be somebody that they even compatible with and there's no intentions behind it, but yet they still not connected to that person, they'll still turn them down. What are your insights on that?
I can agree with Michelle. I'm gonna agree with her at the same. I'm gonna have to agree with her on that as well, because when you're so used to dating a type of man, and that's what you attract. So the man can be really, really nice, but you want the bad boy, you know. You want the bad boy, but part of you, but you can't have both. You gotta have you can't have both. I mean, like it could be a guy, like for me, like I want I want him to be nice. I want him to love Jesus, but especially like I come from a rough background, so I want him to know a little bit of the streets and what's it about, because not only about that, but to be able to bring Jesus into that area where some of them, like, to bring it to part of that with Jesus and kind of like speak to the streets. You know what I'm saying? Like you were talking about for being versatile. You know what I mean? Like you can throw a towel on, you can have swag, you know, and be casual as a person as well. But women, they're so used to dating a type of man, that's what they attract. And like what Michelle said, they don't have that wholeness. And since they don't have that wholeness, they rather the bad boy instead of the good guy, you know?
Ooh, okay. Telling you, my people, we're not playing today. Before I come to my brother Carl, some quick comments from the audience. Okay.
From Freddie, he said, "What's up, DBDS? What's going on, Freddie?
Thank you for checking in." Let's go another comment
from Cecil. He said, "Amen."
He caught the Holy Ghost. Okay.
Yes, he caught the Holy Ghost.
Next comment
from Cecil. He said, "Why do they want the bad boy? What is there about the bad boy that turns them on?"
We'll leave your comment up there, Cecil. We'll come back to the sisters, but I'll come to you, Carl. What else you may want to add, brother?
Yeah, because he actually threw the question up of what I was going to, what I wanted to add.
Okay, perfect.
But when we're dealing with this on the initial question, why do people not want that nice person? It's fear. Also, there's fear that this person can't truly be this way, and they're going to change.
Oh, so too good to be true.
They end up looking for the shoe to drop. And they're like, there's no way this guy can be this way. There's no way this girl can be this way. They're ready for a shooter drop. They self-sabotage the relationship. And then I was going to say the other thing was they, especially for a lot of women, they want that edge. They want that swag. And Jenni was talking about it. Can you be a CEO who could throw on a hoodie and some Timbs and a ball cap? Can you be a brother from the streets and throw on a tux and look good in a tux? The right tux. And to take the tag off your sleeve and all this stuff, and cut the slits and everything. Can you do those types of things? And I think, I think that's an issue where you kind of want a little bit of both. And so to answer Cecil's question he threw up here, I think, and again, I don't want to speak for women because I'm not a woman, but I think in some cases it's easier to go to the bad boy too because of a protection type of situation. Women want to feel safe. Women want to feel protected. Yeah. So that bad boy comes along that kind of way. They know he's no good for her. They know he's kind of toxic, but they know, hey, he got my back out here if something jumps off. Where they really don't know, they see the good guy. They don't see that sometimes. And I think that's why, I get faced with it. Like I tell people, unless you know my background and what I used to do in the military and where I grew up at, I'm going to protect you better than somebody else that came from the streets. It's just that simple.
Yeah.
But I'm a CEO, so they just see that part. But yeah, I could throw on some Timbs and some jeans. I could throw on a sweatsuit and some J's or some Chucks. I ain't worried about it. I put a chain around my neck. I pop my earrings in. I keep them moving.
Brother.
But at the end of the day, if I got to go to a ball, I can put on a tux with a black tie and keep it moving and be smooth in it. And and do what I got to do with my red bottoms on. That's what you do, So I think that's why I think a lot of women maybe gravitate, and I'll let the sisters definitely answer that. I think that protection plays a lot bigger role in them seeing the bad boy because he does have the natural swag it comes off that way in that protection area.
Okay. Well said. I mean, even verbally and non-verbally, because if you, you know, this is to Cecil's question, but if you're a man and the sister, you know, sometimes I think is a way to test you. But if she says something like, take out the trash, and she's saying it in a rude, disrespectful way, and if your response is like, please don't yell at me, I'll take out the trash, you know, she's gonna think like you don't have a backbone. So if you can't stand up to her, what makes you think you can stand up to protect her? And I think that security plays a huge part. I'm coming to my sister, Coach Michelle, due to the question that one of our viewers put up there. Why do you think they want the bad boy? Like,
well, you know, answering, you know, we have to look at our own backgrounds, right? I grew up fatherless. I understood my father for the first 3 years of my life was part of it. And then all of a sudden he disappeared, right? Then so my mom was a single mom of 5. I'm the baby, right? So I seen a lot of things. So I watched her do some things, right? Well, let me get this off the screen. Sorry. So I watched her handle some of those relationships. So I thought that that was the type of relationship I had to engage in, but not knowing that that generationally was some things that was started even with her mother and grandmother that wasn't dealt with. You know what I mean? Until I woke up, and then I was able to see where the traits of that came from.
That is, man, we got you.
Yes.
Very well said, my sister.
Yes, I have to fix my my battery on the thing. I do apologize, but thank you. Okay.
Okay, my sister.
1 second. I'm just delete this and fix my battery, and I'll come right back in.
Okay, my sister.
Okay.
So Jenny, same question. Why do you think they want the bad boy? Like, what is there about the bad boy that?
I mean, exactly what Michelle said. So I'm gonna kind of piggyback on that from my experience as well. Like that's what I was taught, you know. And like I said, I grew up in the streets. Like I know a lot about the streets. And when you see things, when you see a guy doing something, that will be like, damn, you know what I mean? Like, ooh, I want him because he's this and he's that. But you know, not knowing that he's a bad boy, but knowing at the same time he's not good for you. So you still just go to that. And exactly, you know, you get to that point. That's what you end up wanting. That's what you end up with and end up dating or even marrying after a while. And then it turns into a very toxic relationship. You know, you're getting hurt, you're getting treated badly, you know, and you're trying to figure out, you know, wow, you know, what can I do? What am I doing wrong? But then it's actually the guy because he's a bad guy and he's not good for you.
Man, very well said. You know, I taught this to, you know, in the DBDS course that I stated, and I always state like there's like this triangle, right? And I feel like as men, at the bottom of that triangle is strength, right? And I feel like strength is not an option for a man not to have. And on this side of the triangle is respect, and on this side is love. And I feel like the wrong man could sometimes use strength in such a brutal way that he can devastate a woman and she could think that it's love or respect when it's really not. You know what I'm saying? But if a man who is extremely nice, don't have a backbone, don't have no strength, this collapse. And if this collapse, then there's no love and no respect, and that all collapse. You know, if people understand that. So my thing is that to all the nice brothers out there, I think in order to create that sexual polarity, you got to have a backbone, man. You cannot be a cupcake brother. You know what I'm saying? You have to understand when to say no. You know, you have to be able to respectfully, and I'll put that word out there, respectfully, sometimes put your woman in place if she gets out of pocket, because she's going to respect you for that. So she may be upset, but at the end of the day, she'll respect you for that. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just going to come to some quick comments right here for our sister Ville.
Yeah, she said most definitely we correlate bad boy to protection.
Okay, from another, and her other comment right here.
No one wanted Pee Wee Herman growing up. Everyone wanted Superman.
Yes.
She's keeping it real. Okay.
Yeah.
I like that. Okay. So listen, my people, I'm telling you, this is a fire show. So we're going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, we will continue to bless and drop gems. This is DBDS Live. Don't go anywhere. Right. Welcome back to DBDS Live.
Right.
I'm your host, Mel Money. I'm here with Coach Michelle, my sister Jenny, and my DBDS brother Carl. And listen, we've been dropping gems, fire. We are talking about why is it that is being too nice attractive and not attractive. So before we get to our next topic, we do have a comment from the mother, the wisdom, Carl's mother. Let's see what she has to say.
Mom Duke said, why can't we have a good man who has a hidden bad boy? My husband is conservative, quiet, clean brother, but put him against the wall, disrespect me or hurt our children, and his streak comes to the surface. It is possible to have both.
I can agree with her.
Right.
Yes, I love your mama. Yes.
That's why I was telling you, nice brothers out there, have a backbone. Sisters like that,
That's right.
Have a backbone. So we're gonna go ahead and continue. Much love to the DBDS family tuning in. Appreciate y'all. Shout out to Toya and everyone watching. So the next topic is we're gonna talk about based on have another comment. Miyaka just says fire.
Fire.
Oh, absolutely, Miyaka. Thank you for tuning in. So the next one is, listen. No healthy boundaries. Sometimes when you're way too nice, you don't have a set of personal guidelines to follow. So I'm going to go ahead and size this up here. So my thing is the inability to stand up for yourself, or, you're not willing to set these healthy boundaries, can make you become a walking doormat, for others to step on you, for others to abuse you. And I'll take it a step further. When you don't have healthy boundaries, that means that you don't respect yourself because you're looking for validation, hoping that others will approve of you, and thus validating your self-worth where you should already be validating your self-worth. All right. And that's what happens when you're extremely too nice without any healthy boundaries. So first, I'm coming to my sister, Coach Michelle. What are your thoughts on this particular topic?
Well, again, those boundaries and talking about the individual, to me, I always like to say, if we don't deal with the background, our back will always be to the ground, right? That meant that, that meant that for me, I had to deal with those background concerns, those issues. Some of those issues were, I didn't see those who were before me have healthy boundaries, right? So I began to not have healthy boundaries and understood when to say no or how to say no. And I was taught that, you put this scripture on it and this is what you're supposed to do. And so when I began to do that, that set unrealistic and unhealthy boundaries for myself, where I really didn't approach things and know when to say no and to stop, right? Until I did my inner work. And once I did that inner work, and I always say that I awoke. And I was like, I'm grateful for the teachers, right? My spiritual father, Dr. Lovie Elias, for really going in and bringing me out of that situation, so I know how to identify. Because how can you stop something if you don't even know how to identify it? You don't even know what it looked like, because you've been so accustomed and programmed to say that this is okay. But once you remove the program, and then we can put the real data in there that's going to help you to expand and horizon. We're talking about 5G. Let's go into another dimension and be at the right place so that we can continue to not have limit sets on who we are. Because with that under unhealthy boundary, there was limits. I'm limitless now because I understood, and God sent somebody to help me break those chains, to break those unhealthy boundaries, to understand when to say no. And then we'll take it a step further spiritually, how to deal in that spiritual realm, to tell them demons no.
Amen.
Man. Are you trying to destroy the battlefield? Very well said, my sister. You are on fire today. Man, everything that you just stated is so absolutely true. And my thing is what you just stated, Coach Michelle. This is why you must uphold appropriate boundaries for yourself. Because listen, if you don't respect yourself, then others will not respect you. Listen, they may respect you as a human, but on a romantic sense, they won't expect you. So to all the sisters out there who overexpose themselves with attention, with a nasty attitude, or my brothers who lead with their wallet, with a controlling demeanor, listen, no self-respecting person will respect you on a romantic level. Okay. So now I'm coming to my sister Jenni. What are your thoughts on this particular topic?
Not having no healthy boundaries just causes too much chaos, honestly. So, I've had a lot of unhealthy boundaries until I used to let people walk all over me, that's including men. And you can tell when the people are trying to take advantage of you. You can see it, but you don't open your mouth because you continue to allow it. It's like they know what you're allowing them to tolerate. You're tolerated because you're afraid to, the unhealthy boundaries are there, but then you're afraid, like Carl said, it's out of fear, that you don't want to say something or they're going to reject you or treat you. So you're mistreated, but it'll just make it worse. I've been in an abusive relationship, so there was no healthy boundaries there, period. So no matter what I said to the person, even no matter what I said, he didn't respect me at all, even in the intimate level or even as a person. Because if you don't start putting healthy boundaries and letting them know, like, I'm not going to tolerate this. This is not what I like. I'm not going to allow you to do that. Right. So you have to have those healthy boundaries to enable to be like, you know what you want and what you don't want to accept. So if you don't, they're just, like you said, you're going to be a doormat.
I think at the rate this is going, we're not going to have a studio because you guys are just continuously dropping fire. I just can't keep up. I can't keep up. Listen, before we come to my brother Carl, Jamila want to give Coach Michelle a shout out.
Hi, beautiful queen.
Okay. Next comment.
And then Mia, because she said boundaries are so very important. Yes, they are.
True indeed. Yeah. They are.
And make sure you check out my sister Miyaka on the Queen Takeover. That show was a couple of weeks ago. She will be hosting the next one, November 21st, an all-women panel. So be in tune with that. Next comment from my sister Miyaka.
She said, healthy boundaries help you to get what you want and deserve.
Yes.
Wow. Okay, my sister. All right. So from a man's perspective, Carl, what are your thoughts on, no healthy boundaries? When you're way too nice, sometimes you just throw it out the window. So what are your thoughts on that?
I want to go here with this, and I'm going to try to list a couple of different things. I got it down. One of the things is you're being selfish to yourself by not having healthy boundaries.
Gotcha.
You're basically being feeble. You're being feeble out here, and you're causing yourself hurt and damage because you're just trying to agree with everybody. You're just trying to be this person everybody likes, this person everybody wants to be around, but they're really seeing a representative because you're trying to be what everybody else wants you to be. So again, you're not even being yourself with that. Just a couple of quick things real quick. You know, if you know you don't have healthy boundaries and you're lacking those and trying to be there, all your relationships tend to be difficult or dramatic. You find decision making a real challenge.
Yes.
You really hate to let other people down. You feel guilt and anxiety after you do it. After you agree with everybody, it's guilt and anxiety. And watch this. Something I read somewhere. I can't remember where I read it at, but you're tired.
Yeah.
You're often tired. Because your energy is so low from agreeing with everybody else. It's draining your energy away from you. So now you're here.
You guys are getting deep, man. Woo.
Your radar is off. You can't even pick out when it's bad boundaries because your radar is off.
Again.
Yeah.
You end up being all the time being the victim of all your circumstances and situations. And you secretly feel that others don't show you respect. So because they're not showing you respect, you continue to go overboard even more to set unhealthy boundaries on there. You might be passive aggressive. And at the end of the day, you're trying to figure out who the hell you are.
Yep.
Say that again.
True. So true.
Say it again, brother.
Say that again.
At the end of the day, you're trying to figure out who the hell you are.
That's it. That's it.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Man.
Woo. Wow.
That was a lot of jewels dropped, man. Listen, shout out to Terry that just came in. My brother John from The Edge came back into the studio. Welcome, my brother. Listen, we have some comments right here. First, I come to my sister Mika. Love you, my sister.
He said, thank you, Mel.
Always my sister. For Freddie Lopez.
He said, if you have boundaries and standards, make sure you up to par with it too.
Yeah, absolutely, my brother. For my sister Liz.
The boundaries should be set from the beginning.
Yes, indeed.
Yes. Ooh,
yes.
Very well said.
Yes.
That's right. Yeah. I love what Liz stated because some people try to set it during the relationship. No, it gotta be set before, not during. Next one from Mika from the pianist. What she
said? Fire.
Yeah. Here you guys. And the last one from what you just said, Carl.
She said, finger snaps inserted. 2 snaps.
I love it. I love it. So listen, we're not even going to go do a commercial. We're just going to keep it flowing. So this is my follow-up question, and I'll come to you, Coach Michelle. So why do you think that those who have healthy boundaries are still having a hard time dating or finding their natural counterpart?
Is that for me or her?
Yes, Michelle.
I don't know. Oh, okay. I was trying to wait. I'm waiting.
Oh, my bad.
Okay. So say that again. Why do they?
Yeah. So why do you think that those who have healthy boundaries are still having a hard time finding their lifetime partner or having a hard time dating?
Okay. Well, I wanna go back spiritually, right?
Okay.
Because for me, coming out of such atrocities in life, right? I know that things that happen in the spiritual realm affects the physical, right? So when we're able to identify what's going on up there, it reveals what's really happening with us as an individual. And we're able to see what is stopping us, right? Because Abba Father, God is love, right? And so he teaches us the components of our love, us walking together. So we have to figure out what's going on up there that's holding us, that's resisting us to be who we are destined to be, to flow in our purpose. And I think once we identify what that is, then it allows us to annihilate. I want to say that, we have to be, I don't know if y'all know about Navy SEALs. Anybody know about Navy SEALs? Navy SEAls.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to say that we have to be, and I'm grateful to learn that I've been taught how to be a spiritual Navy SEAL. So we got to go up and deal with that area of what's blocking that so that we can be free.
Ooh. Yeah, okay. Very great answer. I love what you just stated. Coming to my sister Jenni. I mean, there are some that, state that they do have healthy boundaries, but they still have a hard time finding a good man or a good woman. Why is that?
Oh man, I can take it from experience, not only from me, from what I've, from her, from other people, from their experience. It's either because we set our standards so high because of what we've been through, and we want a good man, but sometimes that we can be really picky on what we want. It could be how they look. It can be what they're actually doing. For me personally, he has to love Jesus, and he has to be able to lead. He has to be able to. I'm not asking for someone that is fully whole. You know what I mean? Because nobody's perfect. You know what I mean? But I want him to be able to love people like me. It's like we talked about the compatibility in that area, but sometimes they lack what we want and what our standards are. I've had too many guys say, well, this and this and this and that, but then I really want to get to know him any further, but I hold myself back, and there's not so many men out there because they lack what we want. I want a healthy relationship because I've never really experienced what a real healthy relationship is, but I'm working towards that now. So because of my past relationships. So obviously I'm one of those rare ones where I'm lacking that. I have I have healthy boundaries, but I can't find somebody good.
Good answer. Okay. Just got this visual, I'm just visualizing right now, like relationships today, or you're trying to find a good man, a good woman. It's like you're in Marshall's going through the clothing rack trying to find something good. Right? That's what you guys got me visualizing. Shout out to Aaron who just came in, Jeff, Terry. Thank you guys for tuning in. Coming to you, Carl. I mean, I'm sure you can go by experience, but if you have healthy boundaries, why is it still so hard to come across someone that is your natural counterpart? What's the problem today?
I'm a flip it. I agree everything the lady said. Both these queens dropped. I definitely agree with it, but I'm going to play the opposite at the end of it. And I think some people have unrealistic preferences and standards that Freddie said they're not even meeting themselves. I think we have people who try to hold people to something that they're not. And so you can't meet your other counterpart if you're not even true to yourself. And I think that's why we have to be real careful about the standards and preferences we set and what we want. Because if you're not, you have to be what you want to attract. So we can all want something else, but if I'm not that, I'll never attract it. I'll never be able to bring that woman next to me because I'm not even that myself. So I can desire this all I want. But if I've never done the work to be this person, if I've never put myself in this position, she'll never be attracted to me. She's going to see through that. You see what I'm saying? So I think a lot of people walk in this, and I'm just going the opposite direction. I think it is hard. The numbers are small. I think I always tell people like this: when I'm in dating groups, dating sites, and I'm looking at this stuff, I really only believe about 3 to 7% of the people in those groups really want a healthy relationship and really want to be in a relationship. I think the rest of the people are there for fun. They're there because they're toxic. They're there because they just, it's just something to do. So when you start really knocking those numbers down at 3 to 7%, there's not a lot of people that really want that. So you have to find that, but you have to be able to attract that. And so how do you attract that? You have to literally become that person. So I can have all the boundaries in the world. I can have all the standards and preferences in the world. But if I'm not operating in that gift, if I'm not operating in that anointing, there's no way she's going to see that when I speak to her.
Yeah.
Man, so listen, we're going to continue this. We're not going to take a quick commercial break. We're going to continue to dive into our very last topic because this is getting really great conversations. That's what we need today, right? So, before we dive into our last topic, we mentioned some negative points of being too nice, but I just want to bring up some positive points of being too nice because when you are nice to a degree with a backbone, it can actually increase the attraction level. And to my brothers out there watching the show, listen, you're not a simp if you do some of these things. So sometimes when you are nice, my thing is it can create a smooth environment, makes it a lot easier to cooperate. That means that you're in control of your emotions and you don't allow your emotions to control you. It's also more challenging to build an emotional connection, to have that safety net of respect, love. So those are some of the points of being nice, but you have to make sure you're with someone that is the right person and also have the right mindset. And like I said, you got to have a backbone. That's very important. So we're going to go to our last subtopic. And man, I don't want the show to end, but the last subtopic that we're going to touch on is afraid of conflict. I mean, we talked about this cupcake brother at the top of the show, and here he is, just afraid to stand up for himself. So my thing is that when you're afraid of conflict, to me, that's like not, as we discussed, not setting personal boundaries, because some people believe that if they're good and if they're giving and if they're caring, they feel like they should get that in return for the rest of their life. And of course, that's not true, because no matter who your potential partner will be, there will always be problems. And by anyone, and if you're trying to please your partner 100% of the time because, you're afraid to rock the boat, or, you don't want to create conflict, just keep in mind that you are going to create conflict within yourself, because your true emotions are going to be suppressed. And the longer you have those feelings suppressed, then the more you'll begin to resent your partner, because again, you're afraid to speak out. You're afraid, you thinking she's going to be upset with you. You're afraid of conflict. But you got to have those 3 C's in a relationship: communication, comprehension, and compromise, So I'm coming to my sister, Jenni. What are your thoughts on this particular topic?
I mean, if someone is afraid of conflict and they just walk away, how are you supposed to handle anything? How are you supposed to get through the relationship? How are you supposed to, know what your spouse or the person you're dating, you can't just you can't just run away from conflict. Yeah, I don't like conflict, period. I'm not afraid of it, but I just don't like it. You got to communicate. That's important and key in a relationship. You have to learn how to handle conflict, because that's important, because like not everybody's personality is different. So, if you get into a conflict and you just like, I don't want to hear it, I'm going to leave, and that's what generally happens. And they never, so what happens is that nothing is resolved. You can't walk out the door, wait for hours, and then the other person is trying to resolve the conflict. People end up yelling at each other. So, okay, just because you left and you felt like, but sometimes there's people that just don't want to talk about it. They're like, okay, I said what I needed to say. I'm not going to say nothing else. That's not how you're able to fix any relationship. I mean, I'm just saying this for all relationships as it is. You can't just do that. I think that's very immature and selfish, because it takes 2 to tango in a relationship, and it takes 2 to make a relationship and to work through it, especially when it comes to conflict. So you have to compromise and come together and resolve it. That's what adults do.
Right.
Grown adults, you can't. And like I said, a lot of people don't know how to handle conflict. So it just turns into arguing. Sometimes it turns into more physical, verbal, or whatever. Sometimes it's because they don't know how, because it could be something that their background, what they've seen all their life, and they don't know how to handle conflict. So they're afraid of it. So their resolution is just walking out and not speaking about it.
Woo. Yeah, very well said. I mean, some people when they get into, especially at the beginning, and they have that honeymoon phase, they want that honeymoon phase to last forever.
They sure do.
Listen, it's not gonna. As much as I want the honeymoon phase to last, it's not gonna last forever. So I'm glad that you stated that, Jenny, because we do have a course on DBDS that deals with conflict resolution, and my whole thought process behind it is when you have two mature adults, you don't attack you don't attack each other, you attack the problem. And when you're focused on the solutions, then that's when you can move the goalposts and come with a compromising resolution behind it.
Yes.
So I'm coming to my sister, Coach Michelle. What are your thoughts on this particular topic?
Well, I thought of the 3 C's as well. You had your 3 C's. I got my 3 C's. Confront, challenge, and change.
Ooh.
Nice. Ooh.
Okay. Confront, challenge, and change. The confrontation part is, growing up, we were unafraid to confront some things because we weren't taught how to have those healthy dialogues, right? In time past, I've seen in relationships where, those conflicts trying to, bring it to an agreement where we could talk about it didn't end very pleasantly. So here's one I call out of the Men Are from Mars, Women Are from Venus, right? So when that conflict happened, and I used to, spiritually, I didn't understand it then, but now I see clear what was going on. I'm looking at the man and he has a blank stare. That means he ain't hearing nothing I'm saying right now because we ain't dealing with this conflict, right? And I keep going and going and going and going. And he just like this. He ain't hear nothing. He ain't heard nothing I said. So that was not even a resolve. Confirm, right? Conflict, challenge, and change. So again, we need to have, number one, spiritual wisdom on how to handle this conflict because some situations are unpleasant to approach. But the approach and the problem solver, right? The Holy Spirit within us gives us the wisdom on how to deal with it. So then guess what? We're dealing with the conflict, but we ain't tearing each other apart as we deal with it. We are both leaving whole and we've dealt with it. We've challenged it and we're going to change. And then we don't wait for one person. We do it together. So it's a partnership where we both change. I ain't putting all the weight on you, brother. Brother, don't put all the weight on me. Let's do it together. So if we need to fix it, let's fix it together. And let's make, here's the key word, action. You can talk a good game, but if you don't put no action on it, you ain't did nothing but just spoke air. Don't speak air, put action on it.
Yes.
Man. Woo, drop the mic. Very well said, my sister. Man. All right. So we have some comments right quick from my sister Jamila. First, she's from Carl.
She got the praise hands up.
Yeah, she caught the Holy Ghost too. And
she got the 3 C's with the Holy Ghost.
Okay, I love you, Jamila. Thanks for the comments. All right. So I'm coming to my brother Carl, man. I mean, how ineffective this could be when you're afraid of conflict, especially with your significant other.
Well, I think the first thing we got to start, none of us are taught conflict resolution growing up. It's a self-taught behavior because in most cases, most people are, just think about it. If your siblings playing with something and you want to play with that toy, you're not taught how to resolve it. It's taught that's your siblings, leave it alone, or share with your brother, share with your sister, because that so we're not taught how to be told no. We're not taught how to go the other direction. It's never taught in school. It's not conflict resolution. It's never taught. It's just if you're playing sports, it's, you're not taught, well, I'm just not the best guy at this position. You're taught, go suck it up, get better, and win out the position. And which is not bad, but you're not taught how to resolve the conflict. So that's number one. And I agree with what Coach Michelle was saying. If conflict is done right, the relationship grows. Iron sharpens iron. So
that's right.
is iron sharpening iron, and now you're growing together. But see, if you're not doing it the right way, and you're taking a dull sharpener and trying to sharpen a dull blade, your relationship stays dull. So you're not growing. You're not able to use that blade now as a weapon to cut that conflict the way it's supposed to be cut. And I think that's where a lot of people run into those issues. And they're afraid. And like I said, they just they want to avoid it at all costs. Some of it is some things in upbringing. They see how it can go bad and go south, and they just don't want to deal with it and go after this, say what they need to say. But all you're doing is burying something, and then 2 weeks later you get into another argument, and now you're bringing up something from 2 weeks ago that your spouse thought was taken care of. Your spouse thought was over with. And that used to drive me crazy when I was married. I'm just like, okay, we dealt with this and this, we talked about it. I thought we were done. And 2-3 weeks later or 2 months later, well, you did touch, and I'm like, what was I don't even remember that, because I'm the type of person, once I feel like we resolved something, I'm not even thinking about it anymore. So a lot of people, like I said, we're just not brought up to resolve conflict. We're just not taught how to do that. It's just like being in the military. When we were faced with a situation, a conflict situation, we went in and did what we had to go do. And that's what you're supposed to do in a relationship. You got to go in, jump out that plane, wrap it up. Let's go. Let's pull that chute. We're going to drop in the middle of the dark, and we're going to take the enemy out so they get out this relationship, and we're going to resolve this conflict. But we don't want to do that. We're too. Social media has made it where if you challenge someone, you're controlling, you're disrespectful, you're all different types of things, instead of accepting that. That's why when I see people respond immediately, you put a post up and it's not even up 30 seconds and somebody's already arguing in the post. Yeah, they didn't even read what was in there. They're reading in response.
Wow.
They're toxic, and I talk about it all the time. And I tell them, you're just a toxic person, and now you want to cause conflict. So for me, a lot of times, how do I resolve it? I will try to have a conversation, but if it doesn't go well, I pull myself out of it at that point in time. It's what I have to do. But I try to their side of their argument, and that's why a lot of people avoid conflict, because they don't know how to listen without responding. Sometimes you need to listen and not say nothing.
Right.
Sometimes you need to listen. My ex used to hate that. She's like, why you need to respond? And I'm like, I'm trying to process what you said. Give me a minute.
Right.
Because if I say what I thought I was going to say initially, you're going to be upset and hurt.
Right.
So let's process what you said. So if it takes me 2 minutes to respond, it's not that I don't comprehend what you're saying. I'm actually comprehending what you're saying so I can deal with this conflict we're dealing with. And so, that's just my biggest thing. I think a lot of people, they don't know how to deal with conflict at all.
Okay, bro. Man, very well said, my brother. Man, and before we take one last commercial break, I have a comment from my sister Liz. See what she got to say.
She said, with compromise should come understanding, but people don't like the compromise because they feel like they are losing.
Yes. Very
true. Very well said, Liz. So here's the problem. Whenever we I was taught that whenever you have these sort of arguments, and if especially if you're an aggressive communicator, some people see it as a battle where one has to win the argument and the other one lose. Keep in mind that both of you guys lose. If you're arguing, because no one is coming up with a compromising solution. You should always communicate from the base where it's a win-win situation, where that's where the compromise come into play.
Yes.
So we're going to take one last commercial break, and when we come back, that's right, it is our Jerry Springer moment. All right. So sit tight. This is DBDS. We'll be right back.
So many people are calling for police reform. And so because they're calling for police reform, they may not understand that there are many organizations who are already responding.
And I feel like you have to really get to know people, see if they share the same core values as you before you get involved with them.
I want to ask a question as to how we got to this place right here where mask wearing, where COVID-19, where public health is all politicized. I really want you all to think about this. How did we get to this particular point?
It's really a nice balance when femininity and masculinity can mix together and just create this awesome, experience.
All right. Shout out to my brother, Captain Hunter. Welcome back to DBDS Live. I'm here with my sister, Jenny, my sister, Coach Michelle, and my brother, DBDS brother, Carl. And we've been talking about is being too nice attractive or not attractive? And it's about that time for our Jerry Springer moment. But before doing so, we're going to pull up one more comment from Carl's mother. Man, she be dropping knowledge, man.
She said, conflict is a great way to bring out the silent discomfort you have inside yourself that your partner is not aware that you are hurting. But discuss the issue with respect for one another. Do not close your ears to the other one's problem.
Wisdom. Man, very well said, my sister. Appreciate that. So listen, it's been nothing but gems. And if you miss a portion of this episode, make sure you go to YouTube, subscribe to DBDS Live, where mature conversation still exists. Also, just to let you know, we also are available on Podbean, Spotify, our iHeartRadio, Amazon Music. So you could catch us there too. We're everywhere, So without further ado, I am going to come to my sister, Jenny. What are your final thoughts? What would you like to share with the audience?
I mean, when it comes to dating, especially when it comes to you finding that person too nice, fill them out. You got to fill out a person for where they're coming from, Also, make sure you have healthy boundaries. Let them know from the beginning what your boundaries and standards are. And don't ever be afraid, to speak your mind. And yeah, sometimes it's going to cause conflict, but it's better saying something and just like keeping everything in. So, just learn to just speak on it, because if you don't, it's not going to get resolved.
Nicely said, my sister. Appreciate that. And now I'm coming to my sister, Coach Michelle. What are your final thoughts for today's show?
Well, I want to say, hone into your intuition, hone into the gift that was given to us to understand why we're walking here on earth, right? Understand your vibration, people vibes, right? Please don't kill my vibe. You can understand that vibe. Understand discernment is key, and that will help you.
Ooh, very powerful, very well said. And finally, I'm coming to my brother, Carl. What are your final thoughts for today's show? Phenomenal show, by the way.
Absolutely. I appreciate both queens being on here tonight with us. Just two things. Something you said, Mel, before we went to the commercial, when you said both people lose in an argument, when you're married, you're two, it's two becomes one. So when you're arguing with each other, you're actually tearing your own self apart when you're in this relationship. So think about that the next time you're fighting with your spouse, because you're fighting with yourself. Yeah. How can you fight with yourself? How can you be in disagreement with yourself in this particular situation? So this is something to think about. Lastly, when somebody's nice, and as we call too nice, challenge them with your boundaries. Even ask the questions. Anybody ever told you you're too nice? Allow them to respond and figure out where they're at. Jenny just said, because like I said, everybody doesn't have an alternative motive. Some people are just that way. Don't be sitting there, oh, they're so nice, and waiting for that shoe to drop, because you may miss out on your blessing. You may miss out on that man, that woman, because you're like, oh, they're just so nice. It's just I've heard people say, well, they're so nice, it's disgusting. And I'm like, what's disgusting about being nice? Have we really desensitized as a society that toxic is better than being nice? So think about that as you're going forward. Again, now you got to have a backbone. If you're too nice, you got to have the things we talked about on the show today, but don't have a fear of being who you are. You just need to be the right person for that person. And in some cases you're not. And there's nothing wrong with that. But at the end of the day, there's somebody for everybody. There's a lid for every pot out there. You just got to be the right lid for the right pot. You have to be the right pot for the right lid when you're going through this process. And have fun. I always end it with that. Yes. Have fun when you're dating. Go out, have fun. It's like an interview. Just go have fun. You're either going to get the job or you're not going to get the job. It's either going to be yes or it's going to be no. If it's no, next, and keep it moving.
Yeah. All right. Very well said, my brother. And before I give and bless the people my final thoughts, here's go some last comments.
From Mom, she said, always a great show.
Appreciate that. And from Jamila.
Thank you, Mel, Carl, Michelle, Jenny. Great show.
Appreciate that. Yes. So here's go my final thoughts. So I feel like there's nothing wrong with being nice. However, if there's no healthy boundaries, or if you're afraid to communicate on how you feel, or you believe some utopia exists where problems never happen in relationships, then you will never get the relationship you desire. All right. The number one key component you must have are standards, so you can attract your natural counterpart, where you could be the best version of yourself to establish an emotional connection where you both can trust each other, respect each other, and love each other. All right.
Mm-hmm.
So once again, I want to thank this amazing panel, and much love to the DBDS family.
Take it away, Mel.